Get the #1 rated tire and wheel coverage anywhere, starting at $180 per year. Visit thervadvisor.com today.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and my guest is Eva-Maria Voelkel. And Eva-Maria and her family are from Houston, Texas, but they're actually from somewhere else before Houston, Texas, Hanover, Germany. But you are just making your way through the American lifestyle and getting ready to do a lot of traveling in your RV this summer, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have so many places on our bucket list still. So I think we have to stay our entire life in this beautiful country. So there's so much to explore. Yeah, there is. There's an awful lot to explore. And the truth is, we hear a lot of stories where a lot of Americans don't really, see their whole country. They see bits and pieces of it, but they a lot of people, me included, have probably seen more of other countries than here, But that's terrific. So you're exploring all around the country, and we spoke a little bit before we came on, and you mentioned a trip to Florida as well. Yes, that is correct. In summer, we are going to Florida, do a little beach vacation close to seaside, staying at the state park there. And then we have scored a spot at Fort Wilderness to visit Disney World. We've been there before a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, and we loved it so much that we finally are coming back. Great. That's terrific. And it's a family of 3 plus your dog, Stella. Yeah. What kind of dog is Stella? She's a Labrador. A Labrador. Yeah, terrific. Year-old. She's more on the smaller side, so she's great to travel with. Yeah. And your family, family of 3, your husband, and you have a boy or a girl? I have a son. He's 10 and a half years old, and he enjoys our camping fifth wheel trips very, very much. Oh, terrific. So yeah, he'll and he's at that great age where he's kind of self-sufficient, but at the same time has that wide-eyed enthusiasm, and everything's new and exciting, right? Yes, absolutely. It's easy to travel with him because, he can entertain himself. But on the other hand, as you said, he loves to explore new things, and he loves to hike with us and just to enjoy the outdoors. So it's a good combination. Yeah, that's great. Well, we want to learn more about what you ride around in and spend your time in when you're on the road, and we'll do that. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back. I'm speaking with Eva-Maria Voelkel, and we're going to learn a lot more about their plans for the summer when we come back. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. Back in just a moment.
The RVACA is a charitable organization protecting the rights of the RV owners. We'll work with dealers and manufacturers to ensure quality control is in place prior to delivery of an RV. Additionally, the RVACA provides assistance to disaster relief victims. Visit rvaca.org.
We are back on the RV Advisor Podcast. My guest is Eva-Maria Voelkel, and she is from Germany. And of course, now she and her family live in Houston, Texas. They make Houston their home. And, we were talking before about your trip to Florida, but you have a favorite trip that you've taken that you were going to share with us. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's right. Last year in summer, we went. Okay, let me say it that way. Initially, last summer, we've planned a huge Europe trip because we haven't seen our families in 2 years, and it was just time to come back.
Yeah.
So we've planned like a 6 weeks trip all over Europe, including a 2 week cruise, and of course visiting friends and family in Germany. And then COVID hit, and everything changed. So we canceled everything, and then we decided, well, okay, let's just upgrade our trailer. We had a travel trailer, a Coleman, we used about 2 or 3 years. And then we were like, okay, let's do something crazy. So we invested in a Grand Design Reflection fifth wheel and decided to go on a huge summer trip that year. So, and in our family, I'm the one who's planning all of those trips. My husband is the driver. Sometimes he doesn't even know where to drive until the morning I tell him. So I've planned everything out. So we did a trip starting in Houston, Texas, had a one-night stopover in Amarillo. So that's an 8 hours drive, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And from there, we went to the southern part of Colorado and had 2 or 3 nights there. And then we did another long leg to Moab and visited Arches National Park, which was just amazing. So the scenery in Utah and Arizona is just so different from what we know here in Texas. Right. And I was just stunned by the beauty of the nature. And we stayed at a KOA campground in Moab, which was super convenient and very nice, and did a day trip to Arches and just hiked all day long and explored the national park. And this is what I love the most about traveling, to be out in nature and hiking. Yeah. And from there, we drove down, I think, to Lake Powell. We had a reservation there at the campground for actually 8 or 9 nights. So we used that one as our base camp to then explore all the great parks in that area. So for us, it was a great opportunity to combine something like a relax vacation lake thing with really adventurous exploring nature, so in the national parks. And that was just so perfect. I didn't expect it being so nice and beautiful. So we spent a couple days at the campground, and we rented out a boat, and we explored the lake by boat, which is, I think, a must, honestly, to really see Lake Powell and its surroundings. And then we drove all the way to Bryce Canyon, which is kind of, I think, a 3 hours drive one way, but it was well worth it. So Bryce Canyon is, for me, so far, my favorite national park. So it is just the nature, the beauty that opens up all of a sudden, and then you hike down the canyon and then through the canyon. I could have hiked all day long, honestly, but my boys, my husband and my son, well, they were done after.
They'd had about enough, huh?
Yeah, after 6 miles, they were like, okay, we're done. And it was a hot summer last year. In that area, we had actually a heat wave. Right. So we've planned to visit Zion, but it was too hot. It was incredibly hot, so that my family said, okay, I can't. So I planned initially to go by myself, but then I was like, maybe it's just too much. So we didn't do that. But this entire trip was, I mean, great memories were made. And even my husband, he was like, after we came back, he was like, well, I wasn't sure about that trip as you told me about it, and so much driving, and indeed it was. But then it was amazing. So,
I think what strikes people the most, and maybe Americans included, because maybe when they're first exploring their own country, the one thing that comes through mostly, I think it hits them, is just how diverse the country is in terms of just, I mean, not only culturally, and depending on where you're standing, but also just topographically, the geography of the country is just so it's just so diverse. I mean, here in South Florida, we've got, like a tropic zone, and then you have like rainforests like up in the Pacific Northwest, and you've got desert and plains and towering mountains, and there's just rocky coasts up in the Northeast, and
Oh yeah.
it's just unbelievable how diverse it is. And California in itself is its own microclimate. It's got a multitude of things. So I'm sure that when you came here, were you aware of how diverse it was?
Well, no, honestly, no. I have to say I have never been to the US before, so it was just so new for me. And
Yeah.
at the point my husband told me that, well, I got that job offer, and I think if you're okay with that, I would love to take it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything, So, and it was a huge transition for all of us to give up our convenient life we had, comfort zone in Germany, everything, making this huge step, starting kind of from zero again socially.
Yeah.
But it turned out it was one of the best decisions we've ever made, because I feel like I was able to see so many more things, to learn so much more. I think my horizon is so much bigger now. It's a blessing for my entire family. It's the best that could have happened.
Wonderful. What kind of work does your husband do? What was the job offer? If I
Oil
may
and
ask.
gas. Of course, oil and gas.
Oh, oil and gas. Well, Texas, that's about the
Yes.
best place you're going to be, right?
Exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah.
That's
true.
great. That's great. So over there, it's a petrol, right? We in Germany, it's called. Is that the word for it?
Yeah,
Petrol.
that's more the British English term.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So so now you're like you said, you're planning a trip to Florida and some other places.
Mhm.
Summertime is really for you the real big travel time, I guess, huh?
Well, yes, when it comes to doing a longer trip at one time, like 2 or 3 weeks, that is summer. But what we are trying to do is that we are traveling every other weekend, just in Texas, as far as we can get
Yeah.
for a short weekend. But we try to use our fifth wheel really a lot to make it worth it.
Yeah.
So, if it comes to going really far, that has to be the summer, because
Yes, right.
getting out of Texas takes a while.
Yeah, long time.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we usually do those trips then during the summer.
Yeah.
And since I really love the beach and the ocean, so Florida is one of my favorite places when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And this is what we've planned for this year. I've already planned next year, by the way.
Good for you. Wow. So what about next year? What's on the horizon?
Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains.
Yes.
Okay.
I
All right.
always
So off
wanted
to Tennessee.
Right. I always wanted to go there. And I mean, we have to be early in the game. So to get the good campgrounds, you know that. So my favorite campground will open up reservations in May. And believe me, May 1st, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll be there and register for our campground. So, yeah.
Great. Well, I'll tell you, maybe we can have you on again maybe this summer.
Yes.
And maybe you can share, from the road, maybe you can share with us where you are, and we can meet the family too, and Stella, who's also part of the family, right?
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun, and we can see where you are, enjoying the big open roads that we have here in the United States. Any plans to go back home for a visit?
Well, it depends on the situation regarding COVID in Germany.
Yeah.
So it's still a bit rough, a lot of lockdowns and restrictions. So I was hoping to go back late summer, but I don't see that actually. I think, or our best bet will be Christmas time.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. That'll be great. Well, we really do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dankeschön. And
Very good.
And Auf Wiedersehen, I guess, is our sign off, I guess, right?
Auf Wiedersehen.
Not too bad. I'll work on it. I promise.
You did very well.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I may have to hit you up for some lessons here,
Always.
There we go. Well, really, Eva-Maria, we really do appreciate it. Thanks so much. And we'll hopefully we'll catch up with you and the family this summer.
Please. Thank you.
Safe travels to you. And we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after these words.
With the RV Advisor's Roadside Assistance Plan, we've got you covered for just $99 per year. Visit thervadvisor.com today.
Welcome back to the RV Advisor podcast. Tom Alexander with you, and of course, as always, joined by Neve Carizzacco. There she is, our guest coordinator right here on the podcast. Hi, Neve. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Always great to see you. And I know a lot of things going on. And you've got some interesting news. I know probably a lot of people know that besides RVs and the RV industry in general, and the RV Advisor, that Gigi is quite the equestrian.
She sure is, Tom. It's actually a funny fact. That's how I met Gigi. I was 17 years old in Ireland and came across a job posting to look over, manage, groom, ride 11 horses
Wow.
on a professional scale. And that was Gigi's horses at the time. She had 11 horses showing between herself and clients that were showing for her. Some A-list celebrities at the time, which is very cool. Gigi is extremely well known within the RV community or in the equine community. Because it is actually quite related to RVs. Because she rides, so that's the one thing. She actually is a phenomenal rider, has her own horses showing every weekend. I love to go up to watch her, especially with my kids, to show them. But as well as that, a lot of people that show on the professional level here in America, they tend to have RVs, trailers, things like that, camped at everywhere they go. So they will go from WEF to New York to LA, wherever they go, they'll take their trailers and that's their home. So she is someone that is a go-to within that community, and it is a huge community as far as service, rentals, and anything to do with coordinating RVs, or just, again, advice, because, she's been in that her entire life. So on Friday of last week, we actually had a really fun setup. Nona Garson, who would have been part of the Olympic team probably in the early 2000s and the US Olympics, she rides with Nona. So she has a show that goes on at Polo West. So she had a Grand Prix and things like that. So Gigi actually hosted a barbecue and brought up the RV Advisor team. So Kelly and Stephen and myself were there, just, getting the word out there on what we're doing. We believe that the equine community could be, could greatly benefit from the RV Advisor and being a member and things like that, as they're on their road and warranty and questions and Gigi's personal services. It all very much relates to them. It was very, very successful, and it was one of many stops that we're going to do, as we were saying on our last segment, for Steve when he gets on the road for the RV advisor. So yeah, I mean, it was fantastic just to meet everybody and talk. And obviously people had heard of the devastating news. So, you know, throughout the day, many people were coming up to Gigi, obviously with their condolences and well wishes and for the future and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it was really nice to see everyone, and very nice to see everyone support Gigi.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you are kind of live in both of those worlds, yet they're related, as you said. You know, they are, because let's face it, you know, transporting horses and place to live right there while you're showing and all that. You know, it's all connected. Mm-hmm. And she's known equally as well in the equine world as she is in RVs, maybe even more. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's great that I did not know. I learned something today, and that's how you met. I thought it was just a happenstance, but you met through horses. Through the horses.
Yes.
And you were a rider early on in your life too. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I have stopped now just because, well, it's an extremely expensive sport here in Florida.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know, it's crazy. But and just with kids and working, things like that, I will eventually pick it up again. I was more into hunting and things like that, where not that you actually hunt, but that's what it was called. So basically we would jump stone walls and hedges and things like that. But
we've seen that in like movies.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff.
cross country, basically.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, I met her, replied to the ad, got on a plane. Her son picked me up, brought me to WEF, like where she is every weekend during the winter. And I done that for 3 months, went home, finished college, came back, went to New York with her, went back, finished college completely, and then came back and worked for her. We were such good friends by then, and I had known so much of her business because I lived with her. I mean, we've done everything together for years. So yeah, I came on in the office side of her life and done that for many years.
Wow, that's terrific. Great. That's a great story. And you'd mentioned that, you know, your life is very full, and of course, you know, you've got 2 young boys that are in your charge, if you will.
Yes.
And you've got a piece of news as well. I understand.
Yes,
there's a big piece of news. I'm going to let you say that. Share that.
We are having a girl. We are expecting a little girl on, my due date is September 2nd. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Nice and busy. And we're about to get a lot busier.
That is fantastic. So the boys will have a sister.
Yes, I'm so excited to have a little girl in the house. It'll be so nice.
That is great. That is great. So let me ask you, are there family names for girls? You know, are there names that are like predominant or in your family?
There's a lot of names. Actually, Neve, my name, is probably one of the most popular Irish girls' names. But we're actually not going with an Irish name, only because it's so difficult to have an Irish name here, because everyone doesn't know how to spell it, pronounce it. Like, it's a constant conversation. So I don't want to do that to her. Her middle name will be an Irish name, but no, I'm going to give her a nice, easy to spell and say name.
There you go.
To avoid that.
There you go. You know, and it's interesting because, you know, that root language is Gaelic, and of course certain letters that we here in the United States, or, you know, what we would call the English alphabet, are accustomed to seeing a certain way, but in Gaelic they're different. Like your name is spelled Niamh.
Yes.
And you said that the MH is a V sound.
It's a V. Yes.
It's a V.
Correct.
So so, you know, the average person on the street, American, is not going to look at MH and think V.
Never. You would never, unless you're from Ireland. It makes literally no sense.
They're not going to see it that way.
Yeah.
And so we let folks know that when you see Nimh, it's Neve. It's Neve.
Yeah, it's super difficult. So I mean, I totally understand it. Like, when people have met me and they like pronounce my name wrong for many times, I like totally understand, because it's mental. It's ridiculous how it's spelled to the English speaking.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: did it take time to kind of get used to certain American phraseology? Like, was it a challenge, or were you kind of when I say American, I mean specifically American versus British English?
Yeah. I mean, overall, just the way I speak is very, very different now from being here years. I have to like really slow down and like over pronunciate things.
Right.
If I've had a few drinks and I'm back in Ireland, even my husband is like, what are you saying? Because we just ramble on. So yeah, I mean, my friends in Ireland think I sound so American. My terminology is very different. The way I talk on the phone is very different.
Right.
It was definitely a learning curve, and there was definitely times where I'd be sitting in the office with Gigi, and Gigi would be like, you can't really say that on the phone. And I'd be like, oh, why? And it would be like a normal word in Ireland, and it would be like terrible here, or there were some funny times.
That's great. Well, as you know, my heritage is Greek, and of course that's a whole other alphabet entirely. A lot of it doesn't even look like what we're accustomed to as an English alphabet. And there are certain letters or certain sounds that you create that aren't even in the vocabulary at all, like a W. There's no such thing as a W, that sound, and so you have to kind of combine letters, like you have to take a U and an A and go ooh ah to create a w. It's all that kind of craziness, but it's interesting. I'm a language freak. I love that kind of stuff. So
yes, it's amazing.
But yeah. Well, anyway, we could do a whole we'll have a spin-off show, languages with Neve and Tom,
Yes.
But anyway, that is terrific news about your new arrival on the way in September. That is so awesome. We got to have a celebration.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole RVA family has to do something special.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That is terrific. Congratulations to you and Sal. That is great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching the RVA podcast and listening to, if you're audio only. For Neve Carey Zacco, I'm Tom Alexander. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye, everybody.